Hi, I'm Mike Crow, and I sure am glad that you made it to this website. You know, one of the things that I find is that inspectors are making some very simple mistakes that are hurting their business. So what we've done is we've tried to put something together to help make sure that a lot of the people that you want business from will use you. See, you're chasing your business away and you don't even realize it. You may have some top real estate agents, attorneys, mortgage companies that would like to refer you, but because you don't have this one simple service, the home inspection with the sprinkler inspection, well then they have to send that business to someone else. Now, every time you send that business to someone else, or let another competitor do those types of inspections, you risk the chance of that home inspector now working with your clients, your referral base, all of the time. And if that weren't bad enough, you know what? You have to think about sprinkler systems are attached to what types of homes? The nicer, the larger homes, the homes that you really want to be inspecting anyway. But if you don't do sprinkler inspections, well, then you're probably just not going to have as much opportunity to inspect the nicer, larger homes. It's kind of funny. I had an inspector recently that's one of our members, and one of the things that he found out was that he went to do an inspection on a very nice, large home, $1 million+ home. And what he found was the agent that listed the house called him and said, oh, I have a inspector that works for me on my normal homes, but I need an inspector that can do the higher end homes. And since you do sprinkler inspections, well, I want to work with you. Guess what? He now does all of that agent's work. So there's a lot of simple things that you need to know here, and we're going to tell you how easy it is to do sprinkler inspections. In fact, it's kind of like a magic trick. Once you know the secrets, you really just breeze right through it, and you kind of laugh at why you haven't been doing these sooner. Now, if all of that weren't enough, let's just take one other simple little fact. Once you start doing sprinkler inspections, you can do them for free if you want, but you can also charge for them. You know, I see inspectors charge anywhere from $25 to $125 for doing the sprinkler inspection. And let's just say you charge $50 for one. If you did just a couple a week, that's $100 a week. That could easily add up to more than $4,000 per year, and that's not bad money. Would you like a raise this year? Well, just click on through and let me show you how simple it is to do sprinkler inspections. Thanks again. And by the way, you should tell Nachi TV thank you for putting this together as well. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon. All right, so let's show you an actual sprinkler inspection. It's really quite simple. All you have to do is turn on the control box, turn the sprinkler zones on, one zone at a time manually. And we're going to step you through this step by step by step. A couple of thoughts here real quick. One of the coolest things is, once you learn how to do these, you will now be able to inspect more homes, all of those homes that have sprinkler systems. And a part of you may be thinking to yourself, well, I already inspect homes that have sprinkler systems. Well, let me tell you, you're not doing as many as you could be if that's the case, because once anybody realizes that refers you that you can't do sprinkler inspections, well, they find another inspector to do that. That means you're sending your business to your competition. So let's find a way to make sure you can see how simple this is. We're going to start in the garage because that's where 90% of all the control boxes for sprinkler systems are. So let's get started. All right, now we're in the garage, and since you've already walked around the outside, you probably hopefully have a feel of some of the sprinkler heads or the types of sprinkler heads you have out there. One of the big things, of course, is you need to figure out where the control panel is. And the control panel, 99% of the time, as we probably mentioned already, is the fact that it's in the garage. Now, when they installed it at my house, they actually put it at the outside of the house, but I was on vacation, so what can I tell you? All right, so we're going to open up the control box. And by the way, this is one of the better ones, easier ones to use. It's a Rainbird. And if you need to get some more information about what kind of control boxes are out there and how they work, then just go into Home Depot or Lowe's and take a look at some of the control boxes. The coolest thing is, right here in front of all the boxes just about, you have all the information you need to know to run the sprinkler system. Now, you're not going to run the sprinkler system through it's programmed. You're going to run the sprinkler system through just manual mode only. And on the web page that we have set up for you, it shows you exactly that we put that into our report so that they don't think we tested the programming. All right. One of the couple things I'll do before I actually get started is I take a look and I actually open up this little door right down here below, and I take a look at this piece right here. This bar right here tells me how many zones this system has, and you can count the wires. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of the 8 zones are wired, which means we probably are going to use 6 zones. And then, of course, we can put this back on here. The other thing is, most of the systems have a place in here for a battery backup to be put in. And if you want to, you can note whether there is one or is not one. I don't normally worry about that too much. Now, all you have to do on this system, you're going to love this. This is so simple. It's amazing why people don't do sprinkler system inspections. Is on this system, I'm going to push this button right here, and that is the manual start advance. And what it does is it will literally start the sprinkler system out there in zone 1. And then I'm going to go out here in just a second and see how that zone is doing. After I check that zone, I'm going to come back and I'm going to push this button again, and boom, now I'm going to go into zone 2. You simply do that from zone to zone to zone. Now, in some cases, people are nice enough, like in this case, to actually put a list of where the sprinkler heads are coming up. This one says, for instance, zone 1 is in the front and zone on the east side, and then zone 2 is on the front on the west side. So that makes it easy for you to kind of go and figure out where it is. So those are some of the systems right there, and that's mostly what you need to know about the control box. Let's go see what we can do to take a look at zone 1 and see what's doing out there. All right, now that we've set zone 1 to come up and run, and we did that, and remember, in manual mode, what we're actually going to do is step right up in here out to the front yard and take a look at it. The sprinklers, as you can see in this particular case, are pretty full, and so there's no indication that there's any problems with this, this zone. And it's very simple. And you have different types of heads as well. In this particular type of head, you can see that it's actually only spraying out halfway into the yard, and it's not spraying out on this side. Here's something I want to mention real quick. A lot of times inspectors write up things that are almost completely unnecessary. So a little water gets on the sidewalk here and a little water gets on the sidewalk here. They can adjust that if they want, but I don't worry about that too much during our inspection report. Somebody will probably tell you that you should. It's up to you. So I check this head out here. I look at that head. I look at that one. And one last thought on this here real quick, and I'm going to show you another type of head down here in just a second, is that this is a really good time to go get your client, now that you know how to operate the box and how you know what the system's going to look at, because they may have never had a sprinkler system before. This is a good chance for them to see the heads. See, they probably walked the yards, but they probably have never seen the sprinklers on. And since the heads go down and hide in the yard, well, they don't know what they've got. And they're going to love and really appreciate you giving them the opportunity to see the heads. Now let's take a look at this head right down here. So this is one of the other types of heads that you probably want to make sure that you know about. This is what we call a drip head. And this head basically just lets a little bit of water drip out into usually like a flower bed or maybe even a potted plant sometimes. And when you have this, you just want to make sure that water is coming out of it like anything else. And if it's not, of course, that's probably a write-up. All right, well, I think that takes care of zone 1. Let's turn zone 2 on and see what it looks like. All right, so it's really very simple. We've gone back to the control box. We pushed the button again that said manual advance, and now we're looking at zone number 2. Well, zone number 2 in this case, as you can see, goes right around the front of the house here, and we can see the heads, and we have good pressure, and everything looks all right. Now, one of the things we're trying to keep an eye on as we take a look at all the heads out here is we're trying to make sure if there are any areas that are not covered by the sprinkler system, that's probably going to be a write-up. In fact, when you see on our website there of which type of things you want to put on your report, we say the front yard, the backyard, the side yards, and other. But if there's an area that's not covered, you want to make sure you note that in your report. Otherwise, you may be buying somebody a sprinkler system. All right, so let's go see if we can push the button again, manual advance, and let's go on to zone number 3. All right, now what we're done is we've gone on to zone number 3. Now this zone is on the side of the house over here, and it's using what really kind of looks like a drip system, but there's a lot of pressure on this system, so it's putting out a little bit more water, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. And as we walk down here, I think you'll see some of the differences, and I'm going to even show you one of these heads that's not doing really what we expect it to do. So we've got this head here. We've got another head over here, which, by the way, also is only to one side, so it's not getting all over their little walkway, which is kind of nice. And then we've got this little head right down here, which, again, is putting out some water. But then we've got this puppy right here that makes me look like I'm singing in the rain. all right, because it's just spraying up completely up over the trees and dumping all over the driveway. This would probably be a write-up, and we probably should make sure that the customer gets a chance to see this. All right, now that I've gotten myself refreshed a little bit, let's go see if we can punch into zone number 4. Well, lo and behold, we turned on zone 4, and we just got through walking the whole yard all the way around twice. And guess what? Zone 4 doesn't show up anywhere. So there's a couple of things you could do here. First off, this is a write-up for the most part. You're going to make a note on your report, zone 4, when tested, did not respond to test. Now, the secret thing that most people don't think about doing at this point, and sometimes you can and sometimes you can't depending on what city you're in, I go check the water meter. I'll open up the water meter at this house. By the way, it's sealed, so I can't get into it. But if I were able to, I would open up the cover and I would see if there was any water flowing through the system. If there was any water flowing through the system, then I would make the note read something along the lines as, there's water flowing through the system when zone 4 of the sprinkler system was tested, unable to determine where zone 4 is. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, and it's a pretty normal write-up. All right, now what we've done is we've turned on zone 5, and you can see this water running down the driveway here. That's probably not a good sign. And what we're looking at back here is we have what we call rotating heads. And on these heads, what you want to try to do is get an idea of where it's at and see if the rotating of the water is actually moving. This head is moving, and I do that with each one of the heads that are rotating. You can see we have a second and a third and a fourth head back there. And each one of them, I take just a moment enough to make sure that it is actually rotating. And if it is, then I go on to the next one, and I can tell the second one is. I can tell that the third one is, and the fourth one, I just need to take a moment and take a close look at it, and I can tell that it's rotating as well. Now there's something else though, because we've got this water that's hitting here, and it's literally running off down to the driveway, probably will write up that there's an excessive amount of water hitting the driveway and running off. And then of course they'll need to have someone check that. It's a little unusual to see that much water running down into the driveway. And by the way, in some cities, some states, you could actually be fined for your sprinkler heads pouring water into the driveway or into the yard or into the street. All right, one other thing here that came across as I was walking up is I've noticed I've got these 4 heads here, but as I'm looking, there was a head right here in the corner of the yard that did not come up. So part of what you're looking at is also, is if we have a head that did not come up, when we turn on the next zone, maybe it'll come on. If it does, great. If it doesn't, well then we definitely want to make sure that we can write that up as well. Well, we're on to the next zone, zone 6, and that'll be the last one for this house. Well, I have to admit, I'm pleasantly surprised. As you can see, this head that we just talked about on zone 5 didn't come up, but here on zone 6, it's now spraying and doing quite a good job. We still are putting some in the driveway, which we'll probably add to our report, but you can tell it's a rotating head as well, and it's spraying the yard, and it's doing a pretty good job. Now, interestingly enough, this is just part of zone 6, so we're going to step into the backyard and actually take a look at the rest of the heads there. All right. Well, now that is surprising. This really probably should have been on at some point during our sprinkler test, but it's not. So it could very possibly be that this was zone 4. And you know, I've got this wonderful head right here in the middle, so I know I've got sprinkler heads right here in the backyard, but nothing came on. So we're going to write it up on our report as that the backyard sprinkler heads did not respond to test. And we'll put that in our report. You know, sprinkler systems are actually very simple, and all you have to do is just learn a few basics. You can make extra money, and you can completely broaden the number of homes that you can inspect. And if anybody tries to tell you you have to have special licenses, just remind them. You didn't have to have a special license to inspect the heating and air conditioning unit. You didn't have to be a plumber to inspect the commode. I don't think you really have to have a license to turn on and turn off the sprinkler system. All right, well, let's see what else we can find for you. Well, one last thing that I did want to mention to you. When you're done, you need to make sure you come back, and if you've moved any of the knobs, any of the buttons, you've set everything back to where it was. You want to make sure that after you're gone tomorrow that the sprinkler system works. And so make sure you just go ahead and push it on through, and that you shut the last sprinkler zone off, zone 6 in this case, and check, looks everything okay. It's in auto where we found it, and then we just close it up and we're done with it. It's really pretty simple.